Hello, my friends. Welcome to November 1st. Dr. Gabe Roberts, the subconscious healer, here with another video on breaking free from chronic symptoms and chronic pain. Today's topic is going to be, why is your brain, or why does your brain create pain? And, what's this mean if the scans are clear? So, why your brain creates pain, even if the scans and the imaging and all that is clear. Before we do that, I'm on a nice little walk in the woods. You can see my house back there in the back, and these woods that my house is connected to, where it's like my yard, goes for hundreds of miles that direction into nothing but vast forest that really is of the Ozarks. So my property literally connects to a forest that goes all the way across the state line into Arkansas and Missouri. And it's just amazing out here, and at this time of year, how the colors are and how beautiful it is. And just kind of going out for my walk, and I thought I would share this with you because it's really, really important information. Before we do that, let's take a moment and remember that safety is the cure. And let's give ourselves a message of safety. Okay, placing our attention over our heart center. Take 3 deep breaths, exhaling longer than we inhale for, followed by a deep feeling of gratitude, Follow up with a deep feeling of gratitude. You can just practically feel everything in your body relax when you do that. And the benefits last for 6 hours. What a remarkable technology just to simply do something like that. So, why does your brain create pain? Why do you have pain in your body if your scans are clear? This is a very important question. You want to question these things. You want to ask yourself these kinds of questions, because there's a good chance, a very good chance, that you are going to take the authority of someone else, a doctor, a chiropractor, orthopedic practitioner, orthopedic physician, and base your prognosis of the rest of your life based on what this person tells you. Happens all the time, and it's really good to have these kind of doctors around whenever they're needed. But when it comes to chronic pain, it's like they're brilliantly educated for a world that doesn't exist anymore. That's it. They're brilliantly educated for a world that does not exist anymore. How does it not exist anymore? Because our understanding of chronic pain in the last decade has changed so dramatically that the memos haven't been received by most doctors. So they're typically treating us the same. They're treating everyone the same way. Let me give you a striking example of what I mean by brilliantly educated for a world that doesn't exist anymore. If you take 100 people that have back pain or neck pain or shoulder pain, and you have 100 people that have no symptoms whatsoever, and you run an MRI on all of these people, and you do an X-ray on all these people, 100 people with chronic pain and 100 people without chronic pain. And at the end of this, you take all the MRIs and the X-rays and you shuffle them up like a deck of cards. So now you've got 200 images various images and x-rays of people, some that have chronic pain, severe chronic pain, and some that have no pain at all, no complaints. And you pass these cards out to doctors, chiropractors, orthopedic practitioners, DAC bars, I don't care who it is, what an expert they are in reading imagery. And you pass these, like you're shuffling cards out to these practitioners. They will have no way of determining if the paper they're looking at, the image they're looking at, the MRI they're looking at, the x-ray they're looking at, they'll have no way of determining if that person's in pain or not. That's how little correlation there is between our scans, our images, the MRIs and CT scans and all these other things. That's how little correlation there is between actual physical symptoms and radiographic findings. No, I'm a chiropractor. I witnessed this, well over a decade ago in practice. I witnessed it. I started questioning these things in school itself because one of our teachers in school, a histology teacher, was maybe 76 years old. He had a neck x-ray that looked absolutely mangled, just absolutely train wreck, like firecrackers had went off inside of his vertebral column and just blown it to bits. No pain at all. A 76-year-old man with a mangled looking neck on x-ray, and he would say, "Follow me," and he would just dart up the stairs with no pain. I mean, he would literally go to the next class, dart up the stairs with no pain. You see, it doesn't really make sense. Now, let's take this with what we understand now, the findings today. If you took 200 people if you took 200 people and 100 people have chronic pain and 100 people have no symptoms at all, and you just did a functional MRI, just looking at the brain itself, you would have nearly a 90% accurate reading of who the person is based on their brain. You're not looking at their back. You're not looking at their stomach for irritable bowel. You're not looking at their gallbladder. You're not looking at their neck or the old injury, the old motorcycle wreck back in, 82. You're not looking at none of that stuff. You're looking at their brain. And almost a 90% accuracy in being able to determine who has pain by looking at the brain. These are the kind of things you want to be aware of. These are the kind of questions you want to have when you're experiencing pain and you go into a professional, an x-ray or get an x-ray done or an MRI, and there's an anomaly found. Let's say that there is a bulging disc or there is a some kind of suspect find, right? It's always a good idea to ask the doctor who's doing this, is there any guarantee that what I'm feeling in my symptoms I'm having on my body, my pain, is from that anomaly? And their chances are they're going to tell you, well, we really don't know. A better way of inquiry on that is, how many people do you see on a regular basis that come in and you do an x-ray on have abnormal findings and they don't have any complaints at all? Now the doctor's going to tell you, well, quite a few. This alone, for an inquisitive mind, for a person who's wanting to, have an accurate prognosis of how they're going to do and are listening to this expert's advice, these kind of things raise suspicions, don't they? I know of many cases where people have had chronic pain and they would go into, I know of one case in my career particularly where a woman had continuous ongoing chronic pain, and she went in and had some imaging done, and there was a benign tumor on her spine, and they removed it and all her pain disappeared. So I've seen that one time in my career. I know of many times when I've had clients come to me, and through our various conversations, they would say something like, I have a bad back. And I would say, what do you mean a bad back or a bad neck? They would say they went into a doctor before, they had a back spasm, they were having pain. The doctor took imaging and said, oh, there it is right there. So you got this this degenerative disc disease, or these bone spurs, or this arthritic sclerosis right here in this area, and that's what's causing your pain. That person now goes from someone experiencing back pain to now someone who has a bad back. And one thing you have to understand, John C. Lilly's words, in the provinces of mind, whatever a person believes to be true either is true or will become true. So when a person believes that they're bad, their back is now bad. Their back is defective. Their back has a flaw or an anomaly that's going to determine how they live the rest of their life. They believe that, and it shows up regularly on routine, even when they're trying to pick up a basket of, folded pillowcases that weighs nothing, right? Very little. A person has a bad back, they won't even be able to pick that up. Why? Because they believe their back can't handle it, because they listen to a practitioner give them inaccurate, clinically invalid, false information. Happens so often. It happens all the time. But here's the reality. If you were to take imaging of people that were middle-aged, and you just took if you had a group of people, let's say 100 people that were middle-aged, and you took imaging and x-rays of these people, and these people had no complaints, no previous complaints at all, no problems. They lift baskets, they do things, they go hunting, they go fishing, they enjoy their life, and you took imaging of these people, 60 to 90% of them would have really bogus anomalies. Degenerative disc disease, shortening of disc spaces, all kinds of different abnormal curvature of the spine. We talk about things in chiropractic like shapes of the spine, and if your C curve is lost in your cervical spine, it means you're gonna have all kinds of problems and this and that. It's all bogus. There's people out there that have mangled spines, no S curve, and have absolutely no symptoms at all. These are the things we want to keep in mind. What will create pain in a person? Let's just dial it back for a little bit, and let's look at that example I gave of a person going into a doctor's office, and they're having a back spasm. The doctor does imaging and says, there's the problem right there. There's a good chance that those doctors and professionals never asked them when they came in with a complaint, when they came in with a pain, when they came in with a spasm or a symptom. There's a good chance the doctor never took a moment and said, hey, is there stressful things happening in your life right now? Are there things taking place lately that have, disrupted your sleep, disrupted your routine to where you're highly stressed out? Because chances are that's what's going on. When a person has some kind of pain or a flare-up or a spasm, the underlying culprit of that is a brain perceiving danger. And the brain's way of responding to you, getting your attention, letting you know something is wrong, is to create a symptom. It'll create a pain, it'll create nauseous, it can do all kinds of things. The brain can create an ulcer. It can do all kinds of things. So you want to keep that in mind and know that whenever a person has chronic symptoms, that it's no longer a problem with the body. And that's what the evidence shows. I mean, we're literally flooding the market with people today, doctors and chiropractors and professionals and orthopedic doctors, and they're all brilliantly educated for a world that doesn't exist anymore. A new awareness, a new understanding of chronic pain. And it really is an issue with the brain. And so what we have to do is treat the brain and not the body. And I've seen that time and time again. I saw it yesterday. I had a neighbor over, and he went hunting with my son, And he told me that he's not been able to pull his bow string back in years because of a shoulder issue and a car accident he had 5 years ago. And I told him, well, if you're open to new information and you're wanting to start using that shoulder again and possibly, using it for shooting your bow and arrow, let's look at it a new way, shall we? And within moments, he was able to move his arm around in ranges of motion that he had not been able to do in years, simply by not putting any emphasis on his shoulder, but his brain's association with danger of that injury and danger of moving in a certain way and danger of doing activity with it. And this was 5 years ago. 5 years ago was the injury. So it goes to show your brain literally can wire things in. And if you are experiencing a lot of stress and you have a lot of your brain is on high alert, you have a lot of stresses going on with family, relationships, maybe finances, work, and you have an injury then. You have an injury of some kind then, a physical injury now. Your brain is much more likely to wire that in as neuroplastic pain. You're a much higher risk of the alarm system in your brain staying on long after the injury heals. So again, we need to visit that chronic pain definition again. If we're ever going to be free of chronic pain, we have to really understand the root of it and not the superficial, old school, obsolete model that's still the status quo, okay? That definition of chronic pain is if you have chronic pain or symptoms longer than 6 months, it's now a structural rearrangement in the brain that can be identified and predicted, and it has nothing to do with the physical body. So keep that in mind. I will be back tomorrow for more tips, for more explanations, for more knowledge, for more techniques, for us to essentially assimilate this and apply it in our life, not just hear it and think, well, it sounds interesting, but actually apply it to our life for us to break free from our chronic symptoms and our chronic conditions. One other thing I will say is that I always talk about brain safety. Brain safety is not something your brain or nervous system learns through logic. It has to learn through experience. And every week, twice a week actually, I meet with a group of people and we experience this in real time. We go through this and teach their nervous system safety in real time. And that's just remarkable to see the number of changes happening in these people all the time, simply by learning how to implement the new understanding of chronic pain and the new ways of actually turning it off. So our Breaking Free groups meet twice a week, and in there we actually go through the process of feeling and experiencing safety. And this is ultimately the cure. Safety is the cure. So I will see you tomorrow, my friends.